Hello, I'm Greg Hartjes, Superintendent for the Appleton Area School District. And in this video, I'm going to answer the question, didn't the Appleton Area School District go to referendum in 2022? And the answer is yes. We went to referendum for two questions. One of the questions was an operational referendum question that asked if we could exceed the revenue limit by $5 million each year for three reasons. The first is to reduce class sizes in kindergarten, first and second grade. The second was to add STEM classes in all of our elementary schools and then additional STEM at the middle level. And then the third area of this question was to support our ongoing costs that come with the additional space that was added through our other question. So that means utilities, maintenance, and then cleaning on those spaces. So this question passed with just under 70% approval from the community. The second question was a capital question, and that meant that we are using the funds to build facilities, to renovate facilities. And this also passed with just under 70% approval. So let me tell you a little bit more about this referendum, and I'll get into the projects that were completed. But when you put both questions together, the cost was $4 on $100,000 of property. So when we go back to that 2022 referendum, the increase was very minimal. In fact, many of you most likely didn't notice a change in your property taxes. And part of that is we had referendum debt falling off from previously. But anyway, the cost was $4 on $100,000 of property. Now, why we went to that referendum in terms of the capital question is we had concerns about enrollment growth on the north side of our district. And these concerns started back in 2016 already, when 11 of our 16 elementary schools were over capacity, including our three that are on the north side of the district. So that's Houdini and Ferber and Huntley. And I'll show you a map of that just shortly. So concerns about enrollment growth. We also were concerned about the age of our schools, and 22 of our 27 schools at that time were over 50 years old. And we are never as a district going to be able to afford to replace our schools as they get older. Simply, we have too many schools and urban districts can't afford that. We have to be able to upkeep them just like an old house. You have to make sure that it's functional, right? The windows are good, the roof is good, the furnace is good. But then also you want to look and say, sometimes we need to renovate and update a space. Maybe it's a new kitchen or a new bathroom. We have to do the same thing with our old schools, is we have to make sure they're functional. And then when we can, we want to be able to update them based on current and future educational programming. The third reason here is that we have a capital project budget every year of $2.5 million. That's what we set aside as part of our budget every year for capital projects. Now that goes to make sure that we have boilers and roofs and parking lots and windows that are functional, but we never are able to improve academic areas with those dollars. We simply don't have them. And so let me go back to this idea of where our schools on the north side of the district are overcrowded. So this is a map of our 16 elementary schools going back to 2022. What you will see is this area that is in this tan color. This is Huntley Elementary's attendance boundaries at that time. And you can see how large they are. And what's in blue here, the shaded blue region you see all over the district, those are areas where there is growth, residential growth. So houses and apartments are being built. And when we looked at the fact that Huntley Elementary School was significantly over capacity, and it's where our growth areas were located, the most growth areas in the district, we were concerned. We couldn't take any of these students and move them to Ferber because Ferber was at capacity, or to Houdini as Houdini's at capacity. And so the answer for us was to build a new school, which is what Sandy Slope is. So Sandy Slope is built right out here on Edgewood Drive. And now this boundary got cut in half, and all the students living north of 41 go to Sandy Slope. All right, now the age of our schools, when we talk about having to keep our schools updated, both to function well and then to function well as an educational institution, we have old schools. We have our newest schools are between 30 and 40 years old. That's these 5 schools. And we have our next set of schools, and those date back to the 60s. We didn't build any schools in the 70s. So in the late 60s, we built these 4 schools, and they're now 50 to 60 years old. And we have our largest group of schools that was built from 1950 to 1965. And so they're between 60 and 75 years old. And then we get to our oldest schools. And you can see that these are the schools that are more than 80 years old in our district. Columbus and Morgan now have become buildings where we have alternative programs. We do a lot of different things within those buildings. But West High School, Wilson, Kaleidoscope are still functioning schools, and they function very well, but we had to keep them up. And so in 2022, when we were thinking about this referendum and going into that referendum request, we had 9 years of having a balanced budget, which meant 9 years that we were able to put a little money into our reserve fund. We had built that reserve fund over those years up to $18 million, and we were paying off our 2014 debt that year, so 11 years early, and that's from the projects that were completed in 2014. So when we were looking at a referendum in fall of 2022, all of our financial metrics were very, very strong, and certainly we didn't anticipate the high inflation over the 3 years that would follow that have put us in the situation where we're going to referendum again here in April. But a little bit more about those projects. So that first project, like I said, was to build Sandy Slope Elementary School, which we have done. It opened this fall on time, on budget, and open with about 330 students. So it has room for growth, certainly from this area up here and Thrivent area, which will be developed soon. And then the projected cost to run the school is $900,000. And that is something that was built into those referendum. And that is maintenance, utilities, like I said, cleaning, but then all the staff that went with it. There's a picture of it here as it's been built out on Edgewood Drive. The second project was to add middle school capacity. One of the things we wanted to do with all of our elementary schools really struggling with capacity issues, especially the 11 that were over capacity, a decision was made to move sixth graders into the middle level. A lot of academic reasons why, as a district, we wanted to do this for years, and it just made sense for sixth graders to be with seventh and eighth graders, not kindergarten, sometimes 4K students. So we added on and renovated our 4 middle schools. They are 4 of our oldest schools in the district. Again, came in on budget, on time, and within the operating costs. And these are some pictures from Wilson Middle School, one of our great additions. And so all these are classrooms that were added along this side of the building. And then you can see this new front entrance here. And the front entrance for the school actually now is over here, but some great pictures. And here's some interior pictures of Wilson's addition. And then this is Kaleidoscope. So those were the 2 most challenging additions, as you can imagine. Adding on to schools and renovating schools that are over 100 years old was a challenge, but it came out both projects really, really well. And then we also added on and renovated Madison and Einstein as well. The third project was to create STEM spaces at all of our elementary schools. And then in addition, we wanted to improve the security at Ferber and at Houdini. Those were 2 schools that still had their office in the front of the school. And best practice now, you will not see a school that doesn't have you enter through the office. And that's what we were able to do. And those are large projects, so $1.5 million for each of those. Again, something we couldn't afford with our capital project budget. It could only be afforded through a referendum. And so those 2 projects are completed. And then we added at the elementary level also additional classrooms at classical school. But then where we could, we modernized as well. All right, and here's some pictures of kids in STEM class. Like I said, STEM is now like an art class or a Phi-Ed class where every student goes to STEM class once a week at the elementary level. And these are some of the different things that kids are really enjoying. This has been tremendously successful in terms of coding, drones, robotics, manufacturing, and so on. The fourth project was to build additions and complete renovations at our 3 high schools. Again, all these projects came in under budget and on time. And at North High School, we added 2 science rooms. We added a large group instruction area, a new fitness center, and then had some other renovations as well. This is East High School. We have pictures here again. We added classrooms. So these are all classrooms that are on the Schaefer side. Here's another nice picture of it. A picture from inside one of those classrooms. And then on the back side, we added a fitness center. And then West High School, we added this facility here. It's an indoor facility used for Phi-Ed. all day long, and then also a concession stand. And there's been some questions about this and this large building here, but when you look at West High School and compare it to East and North are built on 40 acres, so they have several fields on their property, and West doesn't have that. So from a physical education standpoint, West has just the one field that can be used for Phy Ed, and there's many Phy Ed classes that run every period. So this gives them another space for physical education classes, and then for obviously indoor sports as well. So used during the day, used weekends, in the evening, and it gives West what we feel is a fair addition to their property where they didn't have space for an additional field. So those are our projects from the 2022 referendum. Again, as we look at our referendum coming up here, it is an operational referendum in April, a little bit different than the capital referendum. And the capital dollars, people have asked, well, why didn't you use these dollars and put towards your budget deficit? Because we can't legally. When we go to the community and went to the community in 2022, and we asked specifically for these dollars to complete projects, we had to use those dollars there. We certainly didn't foresee the financial challenges that all districts in the state would see based on high inflation and frozen funding in the years that were 23 through 25. All right, thanks for watching.